Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unity of New Westminster's celebration service. Please join in the singing of our opening song today. Welcome back. I am Reverend Rhona Segarra, and it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the community at Unity of New Westminster in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. We would love to stay connected with you, so please subscribe to our newsletter or like us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way you can always know what's going on in our community. The Unity Movement offers ideas for full and abundant living. We draw on the teachings of Jesus, who we consider our primary way shower and example. And we honor that there is universal wisdom to be found in faith traditions, in song, in story, in poetry, all over the planet. We respect and honor every person's right to choose their own life path. All are welcome here. All are worthy here. All are celebrated here. We open our service today in prayer. I gratefully acknowledge that I speak to you on the traditional and unceded territory of the Semiahmoo First Nation. And we give thanks to First Nation peoples everywhere for their custody of this beautiful land. We give thanks for our connection one with each other. That connection that happens whether we are in each other's physical presence or not. That connection that binds us all together. We acknowledge that there is only one presence, that there is only one power, that power that is understood by many names, many faces, and many paths. And we affirm that regardless of the name, the face, or the path of our understanding, that we are one human family. And it is in that knowledge of our oneness that we send a blessing for love, for peace, for contentment to every being on this planet, to every being, regardless of all the labels that threaten to divide us. We are one. And for this knowledge, for this intention, and for the power that we have to bless, we give thanks. Amen.
You're hearing the call, you're feeling the pull, but it's buried deep inside. When you were young, when you were brave, you used to try it on for size. Then you got lost, then you got scared, and maybe life got in your way. But every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be. Like an old friend calling again, you haven't seen it in a while. Maybe you'll laugh, maybe you'll cry, but it's gonna make you smile. Open your eyes, open your heart, and just remember who you are. 'Cause every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be. The time is now and it's still on your side. How much longer are you gonna hide? 'Cause every day brings a new chance, and every song has its own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams. 'Cause every day brings a new chance. Your favorite song has its very own dance. Take the floor, find your feet, start to move to your own beat, start living your dreams, 'cause they were meant to be.
Resurrection story is one of my favorite Bible stories. It offers a powerful perspective of how we could choose to show up when we are challenged by a crisis, whether it be a change in our circumstance that we have no control over, or by our own recognition that something no longer serves us and it is time for a change. The Easter story of life, death, and resurrection offers a process that we can follow to move ourselves from life to life, so to speak. Let's take a few moments to review the Easter story. It starts with Palm Sunday, the beginning of what we call Holy Week. It is the day on which the people of Jerusalem welcome Jesus as their Savior, as the person who is going to deliver them from the persecution and occupation of the Romans. And in the early days of Holy Week, Jesus turns over the tables of commerce at the temple. He challenges the priests. He heals. He teaches. He is questioned by the priests and elders who decide that this guy has challenged them long enough and he has to go. And then on the day that we call Maundy Thursday, Jesus gives thanks and shares a final meal, what we now know as the Last Supper, with his disciples. He tells one of his best friends, Judas, to do what he needs to do quickly. And he washes the feet of his disciples. And finally, he gives them a new commandment, that they love one another as he has loved them. After supper, they go to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus, facing this time of personal crisis, asks his friends to stay awake with him 3 times. 3 times they fall back to sleep. Jesus prays. He asks God to take this cup away from him and clearly goes through an internal struggle, finally resigning himself to the change, saying, "Not my will, but thine be done." Judas leads a group of priests, Pharisees, and soldiers to Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And in a fit of anger, Simon Peter cuts off the ear of the high priest's servant. And Jesus, before allowing himself to be led away, heals the servant's ear. The following day, Jesus is tried 3 times by the Jewish religious leadership, and then 3 times by the Roman court. The people have the opportunity to save him, and they choose not to. Instead, they choose to free Barabbas, who is also scheduled for crucifixion. And so Jesus is crucified along with 2 other criminals. On the cross, he speaks 7 times. Words of forgiveness. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." He offers words of encouragement and forgiveness to a fellow prisoner. "Today you will be with me in paradise." He ensures that his mother will be taken care of. In agony, he asks God, "Why have you forsaken me?" And he complains of thirst, until finally, with the words, "It is finished, and into thy hands I commend my spirit," Jesus dies. He is taken to a nearby tomb, and on the 3rd day it is discovered that the stone that covered the entrance to the tomb has been rolled away, and Jesus is gone. That is an abbreviated version of the Easter story. And I know that some of us have difficulty believing whether or not the literal truth of the resurrection. And that is okay. What I know is that we can't really know. And I also know that we are energetic beings and we are still discovering the possibilities of managing our own power, our own energy. The possibilities are infinite. Regardless of whether we believe that Jesus literally rose from the dead or not, there are lessons that we can learn from how Jesus conducted himself in the last week of his life, as he experienced adulation, betrayal, fear, pain, death, and resurrection. These lessons can help us as we go through our own Gethsemane experiences, when we face challenges and changes that we may not be ready for. In our health, when a loved one dies, when a relationship ends, when our belief system is challenged, when a tragedy occurs, when we are betrayed or threatened, when we have a difficult decision to make. These Gethsemane moments in our lives, when it becomes clear that our old reality must change, we come to a crossroad, a choice point. And at the crossing, we get to choose how we will show up to the change. And this is where the Easter story comes in, because it can guide us to a more graceful acceptance of change. It can provide a resource for us as we end one life, move through the crisis, and emerge into the promise of new life at the other end. We can learn from Jesus's example in the Easter story and question how his behavior differs from how we would normally behave. And I group these into a group of 7 F letters, 7 things that we can do in order and at the same time that all begin with the letter F, and that we see Jesus teaching us in his example. The first is to face it. Whatever the change is, face it. I know that when I know that something painful or negative or unpleasant is going to happen, I take action. I try to fix it. I try to avoid it. What did Jesus do? He faced it. Instead of trying to avert disaster, he went to the Garden of Gethsemane and prayed. He spent time strengthening and readying himself mentally and spiritually for the challenge to come. It seems clear to me that Jesus did not want to go through this ordeal. Who would? He asked that this cup be taken from him, a very real, very human reaction that all of us can relate to. And then he surrendered. Not my will, but the will of God, the will of life. Jesus was willing to release his attachment to the outcome and the process. He recognized that even if he didn't like it, even if he didn't approve of it, there was something greater at work than his humanness could understand or control. And that is where I think we, certainly I, could take a lesson. Because rather than accept the path that is laid before me, I would want to figure out how to control the situation. I would want to find a way out, to bargain, to figure out what I can do so that this doesn't have to happen. I just want the challenge to disappear. But when we argue with reality, we add to suffering because we spend so much of our energy working and fighting against what we're going through that we aren't able to be calm and present to what we're going through. And while it is true that we each have tremendous power to shape and form our lives, it is also true that we are each individually not the whole picture. There are forces at work in us and around us that we can't always control. And so when we are faced with a Gethsemane moment, a crisis in our health, our relationships, our security, our well-being, we can follow Jesus's example. Face the crisis. Take time to be still. Pray. Center ourselves. Strengthen ourselves. Face the crisis. And that brings us to the second F, and that is firm it. When we face that crisis, let us stand firm and let us maintain our dignity. Let us maintain our integrity. Imagine how it must have felt for Jesus to have the very people you love laugh at you, yell at you, tease you, condemn you, call for your execution. Instead of arguing or denying or explaining or pleading his innocence, Jesus stood firm and calm. Pilate asked him if he was king of the Jews, and Jesus responded with, "You say it is so." When he was challenged by the priests and the elders, he didn't say anything. He didn't condemn them or say mean things to them or call them names in return. Instead, he remained steadfast, internally focused, refusing to get into a debate or a name-slinging hate session. We see Jesus's resolve as he stands firm. It is a powerful image. And it leads to two sort of sub-thoughts, if you will. The first is, how do we react when we are falsely accused? When we are subject to another's anger, betrayal, or questioning? Most of us react with self-righteous anger. We become defensive. We show how the other person was wrong, how what they're seeing is incorrect. Or sometimes we fight back, maybe thinking that because they hurt us, we should hurt them. We should call them names because they called us names. Jesus did none of those things. The second idea is this. When we choose to make changes in our own life, when we are the ones who are choosing to make a change, it is reasonable to expect resistance, perhaps even derision and scorn from the people around us, as well as from those not so helpful voices in our heads who say things like, "Who do you think you are? Are you sure? Aren't you getting too big for your boots?" And so on. When we change the status quo, we will be put on trial. And our lesson from Jesus's example is to stand firm. It takes great strength, perhaps more strength than we've needed to dig for, to stand firm and alone in dignity and integrity. Choose a response of non-resistance. Stand firm. And we move to F number 3. What gives us the strength to stand in the face of betrayal? Faith. The faith that all things work together for the good. At Unity, we teach that there is only one God, by whatever name we have for God. Love, the force, Yahweh, Divine Mother, Allah, Creator, Quantum, Universal Energy, the universe. There is no spot that God is not. And that means that in every experience, no matter how contraindicated it may appear at the time, God is there, intelligence is there, energy is there, creation is there. There is purpose, intelligence, creation at work all the time. Several years ago, I heard this really powerful affirmation written by Emma Curtis Hopkins. In the midst of the crisis, whatever it might be, she suggests that we can declare, this too is God. This too is for me. And I demand to see the blessing in it. This too is God. This too is for me. And I demand to see the blessing in it. Or as I have a quote from The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, that movie. And the quote is, everything works out in the end. If it hasn't worked out, it isn't the end. When we have faith that our world is evolving, that creation is at work, even if it doesn't look like it, and that God is there in the midst of it, even if it doesn't look like it, then we can face every situation with calm and equanimity. And now this leads us to a concept related to faith, something else that Jesus demonstrated, the other F word, forgiveness. On the cross, Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Think about the truth of this for a moment. If the Jewish soldiers, the Roman soldiers and the Jewish leadership knew that in killing Jesus, they would play a vital role in ensuring that his message would spread across the world, I wonder, would they not have done things differently? Instead of executing Jesus, maybe they would have simply imprisoned him or ignored him. Without the crucifixion, the teachings of Jesus may have faded into the background. Instead, Judas, Pilate, the Roman soldiers, the religious leadership, the disciples, all of the people involved, all of their combined actions or inactions resulted in Jesus's death. And even though it seems to us like what they did was absolutely unforgivable, they played, each one of them, a major and necessary part in the unfolding of the Easter story. This leads us to recognize that sometimes there are unintended positive consequences from the actions of people who intend harm. As Joseph in the Hebrew scriptures, he of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat fame, as Joseph said after his brothers sold him into slavery, what man intended for harm, God intended for good. Do we have a tendency to forgive as Jesus did? No. It is a human response to hold on to the wrong, to get caught up in the hurt, the betrayal, the mean intention. And it is a human response to want to retaliate, to take an eye for an eye, or to hold on to that grudge, sometimes for years. And it is hard to see beyond the appearance of injustice and have faith that everything works for the good. The people who hurt us may not know the damage they are doing, or that they are catapulting us to a new possibility of greatness. But if we can accept that those who harmed us were also playing a necessary role in our personal resurrection story, perhaps we can reframe the experience into something less polarized, less negative. I think part of our resistance to forgiveness may lie in how we define it. It doesn't mean that we forget. It does not mean that what the other party did was okay. It does not mean condoning or agreeing. It simply means letting go of the negative energy that we are holding about the situation. As Lily Tomlin is attributed with saying, forgiveness means giving up all hope for a different past. Forgiveness means giving up all hope for a different past. It simply means that we don't allow a situation from the past to have the power to cause us pain and affect our life in the present. There's an old story of two veterans who had been imprisoned during the Korean War and who met many years later at a memorial ceremony. And one of the veterans asked the other if he had forgiven his captors. And the other replied, "I have never and will never forgive them." To which the first man replied, "It sounds as if they still have you captive." Holding on to hatred has been likened to holding on to a hot coal in our hands, with the intention of one day throwing it at the person who harmed us. In the meantime, it's in our hands. We are the ones who are being burned. Forgiveness prevents their behavior from destroying our heart. It moves us from victim to victor and frees us so that we are able to move to our next experience. Whatever has happened in your life, can you see at least a small step towards how that also was a gift in your life? That step is forgiveness. Just a little at a time is all that you need. And then we come to the fifth F. Feel the feelings. This also has two parts. First, that Jesus fully experienced his pain. I thirst. Take this cup from me. All gut-wrenching, undeniable cries of physical and emotional pain. The words, "Why have you forsaken me?" are an echo from Hebrew scripture. So Jesus, in pain, was reciting poetry and psalms to keep himself calm and bring himself comfort. there is a sense that he was in great pain. And in these ways, he was asking for relief from the pain. And in these words are yet another hint for us into how to transition from one reality to another in a graceful way. We must feel our feelings. We must acknowledge that they hurt. Sure, we know that this will turn out well in the end, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt now. The grief that arises with every ending is very real. And even if we know it is inevitable, or even if we know that it is necessary, we do ourselves a disservice if we walk away without honoring the time that we spent in that situation. We want to include some deep reflection, some sadness for the death of that which no longer serves us, and hopefully with some gratitude for the learnings which we may have experienced. So, the fifth F, feel our feelings. And related to that then is another part of this idea of closure. So feeling feelings, and now finish it. Finish your unfinished business. Before he died from the cross, before he died from the cross, Jesus made sure that his mother would be taken care of. What I take from this is that before we can move on to a new reality, we want to finalize the old as best that we can. And this practice actually can be powerfully healing, to make sure that before we move to our next story, whatever it might look like, that we have made peace with our old situation. Those of us who have lost loved ones unexpectedly know the guilt and sadness of the undone or unsaid if onlys. And so finish it. If you have unsaid apologies to make, consider making them. If you have words to write that will bring peace, write them. Let us live with no regrets. Then, when we move to our next experience, we can truly say, it is finished, and embrace the new experience fully. And so, finally, we come to form it. The death of the old reality, the time that we spend in the tomb. We die to the old way, to the old belief, to the old relationship, the old status quo, the old job, whatever it might be. The tomb, the time in the tomb, represents the time for grieving, the time for healing, the time in which, now that a new reality is ready to emerge, that in the tomb is where we let go of the aspects of the old which no longer serve us, and we move forward to a new experience of life. It is in the tomb that we have the opportunity to form it, to keep the best and leave the rest, to redefine who we are. It takes time. It takes quiet reflection. It is an individual journey. And one of the best illustrations that I know of to explain this tomb concept is with a familiar garden site, the butterfly. A butterfly begins its life as a caterpillar. And a caterpillar, even before it is hatched, contains imaginal discs. It is something that is part of their cellular structure and that they will never use while they are a caterpillar. And then, when their time for transformation comes, the caterpillar creates a cocoon for itself, and essentially it dies. The old transforms into a kind of a soup. And those imaginal discs that were there before the caterpillar was hatched, that never got used while the caterpillar was a caterpillar, those imaginal discs begin to multiply. These discs that were pure potential before their time in the cocoon. And then once in the cocoon, when they multiply and they grow, they change. They become wings and antennae and the body of a new being, which when all of the old has been put away, transforms and emerges from the cocoon as a beautiful butterfly. So it can be with us. It is in the cocoon, in the tomb, that the old is put away and the new beauty emerges, more triumphant, more beautiful, more exciting, more lovely, more abundant than it could ever have imagined in its earlier form. After the trauma of the ending, the tomb is where we reform and transform. And so we come to the final F, free it. Be born again. We come to Easter Sunday, to today, a fresh new beginning after the stone which has kept us in the darkness of the tomb is rolled away, and we merge into a new light, a new life, a new understanding, a new lightness of being, a new belief, a new way of everything emerges. We are reborn. We are transformed. We rise again. When we are faced with a Gethsemane moment, a crisis, whether it is something that is in our control or something we know needs to change that is within our control, but that we may not want to go through. When we are faced with a Gethsemane moment, Jesus gives us a blueprint for our transformation. Face the change head on. Stand firm against the naysayers, against those ideas and people who might challenge us. Have faith that all things work for the good. Forgive those who you perceive as harming you. Feel your sadness and your uncertainty. Finish your unfinished business so you can step forward without any of that baggage. Form your new belief, your new attitude, your new thought, and then emerge to a new experience of life, free of previous limitation. Easter is a time for rolling back the stone of our old ways of being, It is a time when we roll back so that we can emerge anew. That is resurrection. It is new life. And we are all beautiful butterflies. Happy resurrection to you. Happy Easter. I bless you.
I danced in the morning when the world was begun, and I danced in the moon and the stars and the sun. And I came down from heaven and I danced on the earth. At Bethlehem I had my birth. So dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance at me. I lead you all wherever you may be, and I lead you all in the dance at me. I danced for the scribe and the Pharisee. They would not dance and they would not follow me. I danced for the fishermen, for James and John. They came to me and the dance went on. So dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance at me. I lead you all wherever you may be, and I lead you all in the dance at me. I danced on the Sabbath when I cured the lame. The holy people said it was a shame. They whipped and they stripped me and they hung me high. And they left me there on a cross to die. Dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance at me. I lead you all wherever you may be, and I lead you all in the dance at me. I danced on a Friday when the sky turned black. It's hard to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body and they thought I'd gone, but I am the dance and I still go on. Dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance at me. And I lead you all wherever you may be, and I lead you all in the dance at me. They cut me down and I leapt up high. I am the life that'll never, never die. I live in you if you live in me. I am the Lord of the dance at me. Dance, dance wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance at me. And I lead you all wherever you may be, and I lead you all in the dance at me. Dance.
Please join us on Zoom on Mondays at 10:30 for a time of prayer and meditation. All are welcome to join us as we share a time of connection and renewal, and as we hold people in prayer. At this service, we check in and share with each other. We have a time of guided prayer, and we read the names of the people on our prayer list. It is an uplifting and restful experience. All are welcome. Every Monday from 10:30 a.m. till 11:15 a.m. on Zoom. Please join us. On Friday, April the 22nd, our dear friend Jim Cliff will be turning 92. Please save the date for Sunday, May the 1st, after the service. We will hold a birthday celebration for Jim, which will be a mix of in-person and on Zoom. So more to come on details, but please plan to be there after the service on Sunday, May the 1st, to celebrate Jim Cliff's birthday. Our yard sale was a huge success. We made a record-breaking $1,100 in our yard sale last week. Thank you to Cliff, to Lyle, to the volunteers who set up, the volunteers who stayed, the volunteers who came and helped to clean up. Thank you also to those who donated. We had so much fun, and it was such a productive and peaceful event. It was wonderful. Proceeds will go to support our Medicine Wheel Labyrinth. We are so, so grateful. Thank you. We have an exciting new initiative in the works. This spring, we are planning to build a Medicine Wheel Labyrinth in our front yard on the east side of the ramp to the Fellowship Hall. One of the ways we'll raise funds for the project is through a GoFundMe campaign, which will be launched soon. This project is being headed up by Lyle Dellingham, and he has recorded this video to tell us all about it. I am so excited about this project for Unity of New Westminster and for the City of New Westminster. It will be a gift to our entire community.
We at Unity of New Westminster would like to ask you to join us in making a difference towards truth and reconciliation. We are building a wheelchair-accessible community medicine wheel labyrinth, a public place to meditate, reflect, envision, affirm, and be, a place to teach, heal, and renew. How can you use the medicine wheel labyrinth? First, start at yellow in the east, the beginning of life. Stand by the sacred plant tobacco and allow yourself to feel what comes calling. When ready, moving with gratitude, you step into the red. Standing in the south, this is the teens and early adulthood of life. Sweetgrass is the sacred plant here. Breathe in and open your mind. Take time to acknowledge what this area has for you. When finished, step onto the black section. Black faces west, the adult time of life. Here you find the sacred plant sage. Clearing your mind, you bring forth the energy of Mother Earth. Stay and feel the energy move in and through you. Release or embrace what is needed to prepare for the last stage, white. White in the north is our final stage of life. The firm, tall red cedar stands here. Years of wisdom reside in this area. Ask all that you need to ask. Release all that never or no longer brings happiness to you, and stay as long as you need. As an added feature, you would have passed by and seen 12 colored rocks. These rocks represent the 12 powers within ourselves. Dark blue, faith. Pink, love. Green, strength. Yellow, wisdom. Purple, power. Light blue, imagination. Gold, understanding. Silver, will. Olive green, order. Orange, zeal. Russet, elimination. Red, life. Now turn within and call forth these powers to give you strength when required. After leaving the circle, thank the 4 sacred plants and colors, and don't forget to thank yourself. Unity of New Westminster is raising money to benefit the community and elementary schools so that they too can use this space as a teaching tool. Teaching of other cultures, the focusing of the mind, and that this safe place can be used for one's well-being means so much to our spiritual community at Unity of New Westminster. Any donation will help make an impact. Thank you in advance for your contribution to this cause.
On weekends during the season of Ramadan, Unity of New Westminster's Fellowship Hall and Sanctuary have been host to a Muslim community's meal at the end of their fast-breaking day. The meal is called an iftar, and on Wednesday, April the 20th at 8 o'clock in the evening, their community is hosting a special meal, and we have been invited as their guests. If you are interested in joining us, please send an email to us by the end of Easter Sunday, that is today, Sunday, April the 17th, to unityofnewwestminster@gmail.com, so that we know how many people will be attending and we can let our friends know. Hope to see you on Wednesday, April the 20th at 8 p.m.
Good morning and welcome to Unity of New Westminster's financial report. First of all, I'd like to say thank you all for all your support and help at the yard sale. We did an amazing job. We have raised over $1,000, and by the end of it all gathered up, we should be over $1,100. But right now, we want to do year-to-date and month-end for March financial statement. So Barb, could you please give us some numbers?
Sure. Thank you, Cliff. Now, at the end of March of this year, 2022, income, what we received was $6,353. Expenses, what we spent, $6,828. Net, what we received, minus $475. Year to date, January to March 2022, $15,805. Expenses, what we spent, $18,877. And minus $3,072.
Well, thank you, Barb. So because we were at minus $3,072, we had to go to the bank and take out $2,000 out of our term deposit to help pay some bills, right? So we now have a term deposit of $3,000 and two of $5,000 still in the bank. But luckily, we have that for the rainy day. So this is the end of our pandemic. We're climbing out. We've got ideas to raise more money. So things are starting to look a lot better. Right, Barb?
Right, Cliff.
Okay, so how about we wish everybody happy Easter?
Happy Easter.
Later.
Hopefully see you at the Easter service.
Bye-bye. Where's my...
We are grateful for the financial support which we receive from those who enjoy our programs. With the pandemic, some of our expenses have been lessened and some of our expenses don't go away. So thank you for your generosity which supports our ministry. We give a portion of our income to organizations that do amazing work in our community, both locally and in our province. So your gifts make a difference in lives. We welcome donations by credit card, check, cash, or our preferred method, Interac e-transfer, to unityofnewwestminster@gmail.com. Interac is free of service charges. Thank you. Now, please bring to your hands, to your hearts, or to your minds something that you are grateful for, as we give thanks and remember how much we have to be grateful for. We are so blessed.
I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
And we come to the end of another service. I thank you for joining us. I hope that you enjoyed your experience with us today. I wish you all a very, very blessed week. Goodbye, everybody.
And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
I am the light of God. I am the love of God. I am the power of God. I am the presence of God. Wherever